Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Andrew Olszentowski. I'm back with another UFC prediction video. This time, UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Erceg. This event goes down in a little less than 3 weeks. It goes down Saturday, March 29th, 2025. Prelims begin at 6 p.m. It is going down from Mexico City, Mexico. So, let's get into it, guys. It feels like they haven't been to Mexico since, I want to say, February of 2024. I could be wrong on that, but I remember Moreno versus Rivel headlining that. But again, they might have had a more recent event. But let's get into it. First fight up. This bout's not yet official, but we'll cover it anyhow. Austin Hubbard against Marquel Mederos. Austin Hubbard, this is his second stint in the UFC. He's on a one-fight losing streak. 33 years old. Lost to Alexander Hernandez by split decision. I thought that fight was really close. But again, I mean, Alexander Hernandez, or Austin Hubbard, he's kind of, like I said, a lower ranked lightweight on the roster. So the UFC's might be looking to get Mederos some win here. 7-0, 7-fight win streak. 9-1 overall record, 28 years old. Fighting on a Factory X. He was on the Contender Series. Last February, so I don't know if he was dealing with an injury. But I'm gonna pick Mederos here against Hubbard just because I think the UFC might be trying to get this guy a win. But again, Austin Hubbard's no easy out for anybody. Jamal Emmers against Gabriel Miranda. Miranda is on a one-fight losing streak, 34 years old. Lost to Morgan Charrier back in September. I think that was that France card. Yeah, it was. That Paris card. Beat Shane Young prior to that. I don't even think Shane Young's on the roster anymore. Lost to Benoit Saint Denis. Jamal Emmers, he's kind of up and down too. I know he lost to Pat Sabatini a couple fights ago. Lost to Nate Landwehr. Beat Dennis Bazooka. So again, I could see this going either way. I think I'm gonna lean Emmers here, but it won't surprise me if Gabriel Moreno just catches him and puts him out of there. Melzgal Costa against Christian Rodriguez. We just seen Costa fight on February 22nd. We seen him submit Andre Fili. Man, Andre Fili, he tapped with like 1 second left in that. No, there was still 30 seconds left in the fight. Okay, I thought there was like 1 second left to that first round. So he made Fili tap to a guillotine. Beat Nurembiki prior to that. So he's got some good submission wins. He's getting some wins on the UFC roster. Christian Rodriguez, he's a tough out for anybody, man. He's on a one-fight winning streak. Beat Austin Bashi. Very good win. That was earlier this year as well. And yeah, he beat the previously undefeated Austin Bashi. Lost to Julian Erosa prior to that. Erosa's a tough dude, man. Unless you can overwhelm the guy, he's got a huge frame. He's got a huge frame for featherweight. So, and I think C-Rod was a little flat in that fight. So I'm gonna side with C-Rod here. I just think he's the better fighter. I think as this fight goes on, he's gonna have a big edge on Costa. I can just see C-Rod just landing takedowns and stuff, but my pick will be C-Rod. Rafa Garcia against Vince Pichel. I'm surprised Vince Pichel is still on the roster here. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. 42 years old, which is ancient in the lightweight division, in the sport period. But he's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Ishmael Bonfim. Lost to Mark Madsen. Who's retired, so that was 3 years ago. So he hasn't fought often. Rafa Garcia, he's on a 1-fight losing streak. Lost to Grant Dawson. We know how good Dawson is. I think Dawson just overwhelmed him on the ground. But yeah, Rafa Garcia. He's a tough out. He's kind of small for the weight class. Thick though. But just a thick build, But I'm gonna pick Rafa Garcia here, man. I'm just pretty certain that he's probably better than Vince Pichel everywhere. He's younger, but again, I don't really see a huge upside for Rafa Garcia in the division, but I think the UFC's probably trying to get him a win here. Julia Pilastri against Lupita Godinez. And Godinez, I think she's coming off that loss to Dern, if I can remember. Yeah, so she's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Dern, and that doesn't look bad in hindsight. We know how good Mackenzie Dern is. Dern's coming off a huge win over Rivas this past January. Lost to Janet Rober prior to that. So two good women's fighters that she lost to in her last 2 fights. Julia Pilastri, 1-fight winning streak, beat Corey McKenna by split decision. That doesn't tell me a whole lot. I'm going to side with the hometown fighter here in Lupita Godinez, and I'm going to say she gets back on track here. Aliba Gautier against Jose Medina. Jose Medina, 2-fight losing streak, lost to Zachary East, lost to Magomed Gatsasulov. So I imagine the UFC is going to try to get Gautier a win here. He's on the Contender Series, won by knockout to Yura Naito. So I'm going to side with Gautier here. Edgar Chairez against CJ Vergara. Vergara, man, he's been losing a lot at flyweight. Thought he had some potential, but he lost to Ramazan Tamirov and Asu Almabayev. 2 very good fighters who we've just both seen fight. So no shame in that. It's going against Edgar Chairez. He's going to be the hometown fighter here, or home country fighter here. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. Watch the Joshua Van. I'm going to side with Chairez here. Raul Rosas against Vince Morales. Raul Rosas, 3-fight winning streak. Beat Ira Lang, beat Ricky Tercios, beat Terrence Mitchell. And he's going up against Vince Morales, who, I mean, I know we've just seen Vince Morales fight. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, 34 years old. But this guy's a gamer, man. This guy just fought under a month ago. And he's stepping right in. He lost to Elijah Smith. That was a close fight. And he's going up against Raul Rosas. And this is going to be like a pure grappling fight, man. And, you know, I'm gonna side with... I'm going to, you know... I don't know. I want to pick Vince Morales here, man, to school this kid, but I think I'm going to side with Raul Rosas here. But, again, it's really tempting to take Vince Morales. I think it's really hard to trust Raul Rosas in this spot. Again, the betting odds are not out for this card yet, but I'm going to take Raul Rosas Jr. David Martinez against Simon Oliveira. Oliveira, 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Daniel Marcos, lost to Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely, I believe, is no longer even with the promotion. He hasn't been for some time. Martinez, 7-fight winning streak. Last fought on the Contender Series back in October against Xavier Franklin. So I think the UFC is clearly trying to get the hometown fighter David Martinez a win here. I'm going to side with David Martinez. Kelvin Gastelum against Joe Pyfer. Oh, man, I'm surprised this isn't headlining, a fight night. The UFC is really big on Pyfer. Gastelum, he's still he still has a name value to headline cards, especially fight nights. But, hey, I can respect it, the fact that they're not headlining this and they're stacking the card, because this is a great fight, man. Gastelum, he's still only 33 years old. This guy seems like he's been on the UFC roster for 20 years. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, coming off a win over Daniel Rodriguez in a fight that I don't believe the dude made weight for. Okay, so he is moving back up to middleweight. The UFC is not playing his welterweight games anymore. That's fine. Let's see what type of if he can make another run at middleweight. I mean, I think he's probably well past his prime. I mean, 33 is still young. as a young age in the sport, but this guy's got a lot of mileage on him, man. So he's 53 in a 33-year-old's body. Again, all the respect to Kelvin, man. He's a gamer. But Joe Pyfer, this guy's got heavy power, man. Very serious power. Just doesn't fight often enough, man. He beat Marc-Andre Barriault very quickly last June in the first round. Lost to Jack Hermanson prior to that, man. That was a fight that I had a bet on Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson lost the first 2 rounds, weathered the storm, and won the last 3 rounds of that fight, you know, and used his veteran savvy to get a win over Pyfer there. But Pyfer's a very dangerous dude, man. I think this guy is a problem for a lot of people at middleweight, and I expect that we're going to see him rise to rankings here. I'd like to see him fight more often, but again, I'm going to take Joe Pyfer for the win here. I think he probably catches Kelvin. If not, he picks up a unanimous decision win. Ronaldo Rodriguez against Kevin Borjas. I'm just not really big on Ronaldo, man. I'm not sold on this dude yet. Maybe I'm missing something. He's got a win over Rode Osborne and Denis Bandar in the UFC. He's got a lot of fights under his record, 17-2. Kevin Borjas, he did not look good against Alexandro Costa in his last fight. That was last May, so almost a 10-month layoff. It's going to be almost an 11-month layoff by the time this fight takes place. Lost to Joshua Van prior to that, but that was kind of a back-and-forth fight in his UFC debut. So I was impressed with him there, but Costa completely dominated the guy. And I'm going to side with Borjas here, man. I'm just not sold on Ronaldo yet. Hopefully Borjas looks a little better this fight compared to the Costa fight, and I'm going to side with Borjas. Manuel Torres against Drew Dober. Again, Torres is a dangerous striker, likes to throw knees and elbows. So it won't surprise me if he catches Dober here, but Dober's got serious power, man. Baja Mondays was just quicker than, he was just a lot quicker than Manuel Torres. I mean, he dropped Torres 3 times, I think, in that fight. And Dober, he hits with a lot of power. He's taking a lot of damage too. I think he's got the better chin. I imagine Drew Dober will be the underdog here, so I'm gonna take Drew Dober, but he's got to overcome a little bit of reach, and I'm gonna take Drew Dober to win this fight. Brandon Moreno against Steve Erceg. Again, it's kind of curious matchmaking. I'm surprised they're not trying to propel Moreno back to the title fight. Maybe they're just trying to get Pantoja some new looks. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, 31 years old. He clearly outclassed Amir Albazi in his last fight. That was last November, in which he headlined that event as well. Lost to Royval by split decision. Lost to Pantoja. So he can be beat. I mean, he clearly can be beat. It's kind of a question, where's his focus? Seems like he is refocused, and he's on a path to the title shot. I think he's the number 2 ranked flyweight fighter. And he's going up against Steve Erceg, who I believe is ranked number 9. He was a kind of a big favorite against, I think he was a 2.5 to 1 favorite against, maybe even greater, maybe even closer to 3 to 1 favorite over Kai Kara France. Seemed like he was winning that fight, but Kai Kara France, he is no easy out for anybody. He dropped Steve Erceg, and I mean, he put him out nasty, man. He did put him out nasty, and he came off unanimous decision, lost to Pantoja 10 months ago in a fight that he probably lost 3 rounds to 2. So he's shown that he can go 5 rounds. You know, hopefully this guy's made some improvements. Hopefully he's rested his chin, improved some of his defense. And I don't know. I'm going to, like I said, I imagine Steve Erceg's going to be a healthy underdog here, a sizable underdog. And I'm gonna lean Erceg here, man. Just more about the value than anything. He's 1-inch height advantage, 1.5-inch reach disadvantage. He's the younger fighter by 2 years. But again, I don't think altitude will be a problem for Erceg here. I mean, Moreno's the hometown fighter. We've seen him lose in his hometown, so this isn't nothing we haven't seen before. But I'm going to side with Erceg here, man. Maybe he can just catch Moreno just, you know, not as focused. And, again, I think we're going to see some good odds on Erceg here, maybe around plus 200 or or so, man. Just, you know, the fact that he's lost twice, coming off a brutal knockout to Chairez. So I just think the value is going to be on Erceg here. Moreno, he's coming off a dominant win over Amir Albazi. So we'll see where the betting odds are when this fight does take place. But I am going to take the underdog, or Erceg here. Again, I understand people taking Moreno here. He's the hometown fighter. He's got way more experience. And he's the #2 ranked flyweight in the world. But I'm going to side with Steve Erceg here. So again, guys, my picks: Steve Erceg, Drew Dober, Kevin Borjas, Joe Pyfer, David Martinez, Raul Rosas Jr., Edgar Chairez, Gautier, Lupita Godinez, Rafa Garcia, Christian Rodriguez, Jamal Emmers, Markel Mederos,